confused when I'm facing food. I said, come dance with me. Come dance with me for an evening for some.
All right. Cheers, salute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new season of Sessa's Corner. And tonight we come to you from the beautiful Api's in Harrison, 615 Frankie Rogers Boulevard, a beautiful Italian restaurant. What a night we have ahead of us. And I tell you, it is an honor as we bring Sessa's Corner back for this new and exciting season. What an honor it is for me tonight to have as my guest the one and only Dominick Carbone. Dominick, welcome to Sessa's Corner. Thank you so very much once again for your time.
Happy to be here.
Folks, you just saw a little clip of Dominick performing the music of the legendary late great Frank Sinatra. Later tonight, he's going to be performing here at Api's, but he's graciously given us some of his time here before his upcoming performance to talk a little bit about his singing career and so forth. We're going to get into all of it. So Dominick, again, welcome to Sessa's Corner.
Thank you.
What a night this is going to be, and I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, for this amazing evening that we're about to have. And I tell you, it's been a hectic few months for me personally, and I know in general for everybody, especially with everything going on in the world. And I'm so happy to get my new season of Sessa's Corner back up and running. So, folks, let me just bring it down to size here. So, February 4th, 1985, a great talent was born. This gentleman to my left here, Dominick Carbone, who performs and sings Sinatra music absolutely incredibly. My wife and I had the pleasure of seeing you last month at Calandra's Mediterranean Grill in Fairfield. It was an amazing night, an incredible show. We could not wait to come and see you again. I'm so glad that we were able to exchange, contact information that night. We spoke and we were, leading to the formation of tonight's interview. And I tell you, we are so excited for the show tonight. And just so excited to have the pleasure to really, kind of get into the meat and potatoes of kind of how you got to this point. Now, you're originally from Lyndhurst, I understand.
Yep, right down the street.
Yep, exactly. You're a proud product of St. Peter's Prep,
Jersey City.
And you currently live in the West Essex area currently. And but now, I mean, let's kind of rewind a little bit, go back a little bit now. So, you predominantly, from what I understand, you predominantly perform Sinatra. So let's start with that. So how did it all begin for you with performing Sinatra music or Sinatra music in general? How did it all start?
Great question. Not too many guys my age doing this still, right? So that's the ultimate question. So really, I grew up in a musical family. My grandmother was a singer, a cabaret singer back in Brooklyn, back in the 40s. My father was and still is a singer in various barbershop quartets over the years. He's actually won a few medals in a lot of different competitions in the barbershop world. His name is Jamie Carbone.
Wow, okay.
Perhaps the most popular barbershop quartet he was in, if you're in that world, was Double Take.
Okay.
He was in the Cracker Jacks in the 80s, and then finished up his barbershop career for the most part with two of the members from the Boston Common, which if you're in the barbershop world, the Boston Common, they're like the New York Yankees of the barbershop world.
That's the top of the line.
Top of the line. They were gold medalists, and my father was always a tenor. He was a tenor, real high voice, really powerful voice. That being said, the music that I was introduced to growing up was a lot of barbershop, which is a lot of old standards.
Absolutely.
Old-timey music combined with the other stuff that he loved.
Music is the key word.
Music. They're called standards for a reason. So along with that, you had the Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, which my father also loved, the Allman Brothers, but then there was Sinatra. And Sinatra was always a part of my upbringing, my childhood, all throughout my life. And it was just something that was always there, and I always kind of clung to it. My dad and I would go on really long car rides and have all of the Sinatra CDs in the carousel, and we would just go through all of them, go through song by song. We'd work out different harmonies, we'd hold out notes differently, we'd do our own little things, so it was always a part of me growing up, my musical DNA, I guess you could say. Plus, we're from the same part of the world, myself and Frank, being Italian-American, being from this area. He grew up in Hoboken. I went to school in Jersey City. So, you know, a very similar type of, you know, swagger, upbringing, you know, childhood, crazy Italian mother.
From the same neck of the woods, no question about it.
Right, absolutely. So that's how I kind of came into the Sinatra stuff. It was part of me as a child. Then, as I got older, I, you know, kind of music and myself kind of went our separate ways. You have to make your way in the world.
Of course.
Not too many people making a living singing music. So
life, of course, is a tremendous series of trials and tribulations. No question about it.
Oh yeah, and I've got many to talk about. But long story short, with the Sinatra stuff, a buddy of mine a few years back, he was doing this. And he said, hey, listen, I remember growing up, we were performing together. You loved Frank Sinatra. I'm doing this as like a part-time thing, singing at restaurants, private parties. Why don't you come give me a hand, do a couple songs, see how you like it? And from there,
why not?
It just snowballed. He has since moved out to the Scottsdale area of Arizona.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we have gone our separate ways, but here I am still holding the banner of Sinatra, and it's taken a life of its own. I can't believe it. You know, I really started doing this as a hobby to kind of just get myself out there, doing something I enjoy, maybe pay for my addiction, which is golf. So, but now it's turned into like an actual thing. It's a job. It's another job, and I couldn't be more happy.
But at the same token, I mean, I don't think job is the correct word, because I would think passion would probably be a better way to describe it, because a job, let's face it, that's something that we go to work, you know, but as the old expression goes, if you do something that you love, you'll never work again in your life. So I would say that this is clearly more of a passionate type thing for you. It's right up your alley. It's blossomed and grown and developed into you performing regularly at a variety of different venues, which we're going to get into. And you know, tonight again here at Oppi's in Harrison, a gorgeous place and everything. What a great crowd expected. So I mean, you know, tremendous, no question about it. But let me ask you this, like, you know, to kind of like, you know, it might sound like a weird question, but I think it's worth exploring. So, why Sinatra?
So Sinatra specifically, number one being, Sinatra was the guy. He was Elvis Presley before Elvis Presley. He was Michael Jackson before Michael Jackson. So all of the greatest music of that era was written for him. So he sang the best music with the best arrangements. So that's kind of why Sinatra, you know, was Sinatra. And growing up with Sinatra, that's number one. Number two is, I can take no credit for this. I was just blessed to be born with a crooning type voice. You know, the music of Sinatra and Dean Martin, they're very accessible. They're easier songs to sing. However, to pull them off properly and to get that sound, that warm, you know, crooning sound that people have become accustomed to, it just feels right. You gotta have a certain vocal type, and I was just blessed with that range of voice. And so that's why Sinatra. And I do work in some Dean Martin. I work in some Bobby Darin, Nat King Cole, Elvis Presley, and then towards the end of my night, as you may or may not know, I don't know if we got into this too much at Calandra's, but I'll bust out some Harry Belafonte, some Neil Diamond. I even do some Doors, some Monkees, but I stay in my lane because I know my range.
All roads lead back to Sinatra, the chairman of the board, Old Blue Eyes, of course. I think arguably the greatest singer and performer of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was blessed with, my late father, who exposed me to Sinatra music from when I was a toddler, and I basically, it's a big part. It was a big part of my childhood. I grew up surrounded by it. I came to love it, just very naturally. And I thank, there's many things, that I can thank my father for. God rest his soul. But one of the top things, if I had to narrow it down to the top 5, was exposing me to the Sinatra music and that genre of music, the crooners. I mean, I love that music inside and out to this day. Sinatra #1, all the other people you've mentioned, the legendary Bobby Darin, of course, and Dean Martin, and we can get into, of course, Tony Bennett, Perry Como,
Nat King
and
Cole
Nat
too.
King Cole.
Nat for me was one of the tops.
I mean, with Christmas right around the corner, the Christmas season right around the corner, when I start playing Christmas music in the house, the very first CD that goes into my player, is the Nat King Cole.
Chestnuts roasted
There we go.
on an open fire.
Exactly. So, I mean, we are definitely 100% on the same page in that regard. There's nothing more soothing, more relaxing, more enjoyable than Sinatra music, and again, all the crooners. I have a few CD collections of compilations of all the crooners, and I'm telling you, it's like my go-to when I'm looking for soothing music. So I hear you, and I'm 100%.
There's something to be said about Sinatra. He did not have the widest vocal range on the planet. You listen to guys like Vale and Mel Torme, these kind of guys that had just unbelievable ranges and flowery and beautiful
Jimmy
voices.
Roselli, another
Jimmy
one.
Roselli. Actually, Sinatra might have been a little threatened by him. But
Andy Williams,
when
another
you
one.
hear Sinatra sing a song, it just sounds like that's how it's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a presence of his that is just irreplaceable and is yet to be done.
And not only that, as I'm sure you know, and, God bless him, he smoked while he sung in many cases. It's almost like it didn't faze him. It never seemed to interfere with his singing ability. In fact, I remember watching one of his concerts where he's in the middle of the concert and he lights up a cigarette, which he was known to do, and he said to the crowd, he was joking, he said, if I don't smoke while I sing, I'll choke, and everybody busted out in laughter, so it was like par for the course with him, but it never impacted him to the extent where it affected his vocal ability in any way, shape, or form.
So I'm gonna agree and disagree. I agree that it didn't inhibit his career whatsoever, but it did affect his voice, but it did in the best of ways. Because as he got on in his years,
If it did, you barely knew it though.
people forget, he was born, what was it, 1915, 16, something like that?
Yeah.
Before 1920. So by the time the 60s came around, he was already on in his years, and his voice took on that caliber and that quality, I think, because of all the years of cigarettes, and it became that sound. Nat King Cole, for instance, is credited to saying that cigarettes led to that vocal quality that people came to know. So it did affect his voice, but in the best kind of ways.
Yeah.
It didn't inhibit his range,
Yeah.
just the quality of his voice and that raspiness and that warmth.
But it just it just fit right in.
It did.
And you didn't really,
And everyone did it.
Well, yeah,
Everyone
but that's
did it,
the whole,
nobody
and that
knew.
was the way of
Yeah.
the world back then. But let me ask you this: so, what would you say, to the best of your ability, would be what influence and what impact has singing Sinatra has had on you since you've been doing it? Now you've been doing it for quite some time. How would you describe the impact of doing it on a regular basis on you?
So really, singing Sinatra in public in front of crowds started very early in 2017. So it really hasn't been that long that I've been doing it, so it actually still feels like so fresh and new, and it's just such a blessing. I keep calling it the life hack, to be able to do something that you love so much, and people go out and see it. You can make a few shekels doing it. You know, you can keep investing in it and keep doing it. It's such an enormous blessing to be able to do the music you love more than anything in the world, and people are actually engaged and like into it and watching. And I really, you know, and that's the thing about it. I don't go up there and try to imitate Sinatra. I really care about this music. I really do. So I put my best foot forward. I won't do a song unless I'm 100% polished on it, ready to go. So I really care. So it has just been such a blessing and a pleasure. And you know, I told you, my dad, big influence musically, vocally. My mother too. A wide variety of music that she loves. She was an influence. But I gotta thank my wife for, you know, supporting me in doing this and taking care of our daughter. She's 5.5 months pregnant right now, so she's
congratulations.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that.
That's another toast right there.
Salud.
All right,
So
indeed.
she's holding down the fort so I can go out and do this. And I couldn't be more grateful.
God bless her. And I remember having the pleasure of meeting your mother. She was at the Calandra show, and I mean, talk about life of the party, if you will. I mean, she, you know, we were all, you know, you had us going with, you know, the dancing and you know, and everybody got involved. It became a very interactive type show that night. And I remember your mother being right smack dab in the middle of it, and you know, what a wonderful, you know, pleasure it was to have met her that evening and everything. It was such a fun night. And you know, what you just said kind of leads to a question that I have for you in that. Take us through like your regimen, your routine, and when you're getting ready to perform. You know, I mean, you can use tonight as an example, perhaps. What regimen or routine do you go through when you prepare for one of your performances?
So what I'll say is, it's different from performance to performance, unless it's a place that I've been to and I'm you know, steady fixture there, like Nicola's in Total, for instance.
Yes,
I'm there every week.
You're there all the time.
Right.
Yes.
Or if I do the Wayne location of our Pete's,
Yep.
I perform there quite frequently. It's a different situation beforehand. But if it's a new place, there's a whole new set of like challenges and nerves that come into it. All logistic type stuff.
Of course.
But I would say, it's going to sound really funny, but I do everything in my power on the day of to not listen to any Sinatra music. No old music, no old standards. I want it to be fresh when I go up there, and it's like, oh, I'm really listening to it and enjoying it myself as I sing it. So as I'm driving out here, I'm listening to Pantera, Slayer. I'm a metalhead. I love heavy metal music, rock music. I really one of my favorite bands of all time really is Led Zeppelin. Yep. So I like all kinds of music. Metal and hard rock is like, it's right in there with Sinatra with me. So that kind of like gets me like motivated,
Pumped up.
amped up,
Yep.
pumped up, that's the word. And then when I come here and I'm doing these beautiful sweet songs, it's like, I don't know, I feel it in my soul. It's just like it's a strange like dichotomy that I'll be pumping up with like metal music. I'll come here and then I'll do the Sinatra stuff, both of which I love so much. But you know, it's like I balance it with all music I love.
Very interesting. So, folks, let's make sure that you captured what Dominick just said there. So, the best way that he prepares to sing Sinatra is he listens to heavy metal on his way to the. I mean, you talk about a contrast, but that is that is a one hell of a trick to the trade, if you will. There, I mean, that's one hell of a technique. You know, that's very impressive, very impressive. And I'm similar to you from the standpoint. I love many different genres of music myself. I love a bit of hard rock myself, a little bit of heavy metal, and to an extent, Led Zeppelin, of course. You know, I mean, how could you not? You know, admire what they brought to the table and so forth. But I mean, there's not many genres of music that I do not like. There's a few, okay, but for the most part, I'm very similar to you from the standpoint. There's a lot of different genres of music that I enjoy as well. But again, all roads always lead back to the crooners, the swingers, the standards, the great American songbook, if you will. Now, with that said, okay, I gotta ask you this. Out of all the Sinatra songs that there are, and of course there are many, way too many to mention, needless to say, we'd be here until, next year if we were to do that. But out of all the Sinatra songs, what would you say is your absolute favorite Sinatra song to perform?
Okay. So I always go in phases with what my favorite song is to perform.
Okay.
Because, every few months I'll learn a handful of new songs, and then one of those songs will be my favorite. But it's usually a ballad that's my favorite to perform. And I would say right now, my favorite song to perform is, he used to close out all of his radio shows with the same exact song. No matter what songs he sang throughout the night, he would close out his radio shows with one particular song. Most of his shows, he would end with one particular song as well. He called it his theme song in his old pal, because he sang it throughout his career.
Yes.
And that song is Put Your Dreams Away. Put your dreams away for another day.
Very familiar with it.
So that right now is my favorite song to perform because I get my jollies from it. But then crowd reaction, nothing hits like That's Life and New York, New York.
Naturally.
Absolutely. So
What now let's look at the opposite. Okay. Would you say, is there a least favorite song of Sinatra's to perform that you, let's say, something that everyone's expecting to hear,
Correct.
that you feel obligated to include, but is not necessarily one that you enjoy performing as much?
hands down, it's My Way. Yep.
And
My
why?
Way.
Why
My
would
Way.
that be?
I don't love the song,
Okay.
itself. And it's a standard Sinatra song that everyone, it's probably his most popular song ever. It really could be.
Could very well be.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
that would be the one that I look forward to the least in doing. As weird as that sounds.
now, when you say you don't love the song, okay, I mean, I have to ask, like, why? Like, what about that song doesn't grab you, or what do you feel might be lacking in that song?
It's just the arrangement of it. I don't necessarily love. I will say there are live versions of Sinatra doing it that I love.
Oh,
And
yes.
those arrangements
I've heard
are
many.
fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm at the mercy of what musical arrangements are available to me on the internet. And the musical arrangement that I have is the classic one that you've heard in the studio recording.
Of course, yes.
But I've heard live versions of My Way that I love. I just don't necessarily love the studio arrangement.
Okay. Well, listen, it's a very unique perspective that you've just offered on a classic, that has also been performed by so many other legendary performers over the years as well. Of course, the late great King Elvis Presley, the one and only Paul Anka, who was still performing. Paul Anka wrote the damn song to begin with. I mean, he's another great performer that my wife and I had the pleasure of seeing a couple of years ago. And listen, that's a very, you bring out a very good, unique perspective on that song. And when you talk about live versions of My Way, I mean, one of the ones that I love is when he did it as a duet with Pavarotti, the late, that's a tremendous, just an absolute tremendous, no question about it. Now, let me ask you this: we talk about, all the venues that you've been at, and this is your debut here at our Pete's here in Harrison tonight. I mean, do you have let's say a particular venue that that you, let's say, like the most, or thus far?
What I'll say is, I love doing private parties, no matter where they are.
Okay.
A private party is where I excel. People are more engaged. I'm the entertainer, you know?
Of course.
I can interact a little differently with a private party type of crowd, and that's where I thrive. I really liked Calandra's Mediterranean, the way they set up the evening, where they made it a special event.
Yes.
You had your dinner, and then the show started, so everyone was really engaged. I really liked that a lot.
Tremendous ambiance that night, no
was
question
great.
about it.
Great spot. But Nicola's in Totowa is like that's home base right there. I love it a lot. I love that place a lot. Also, Uncorked in Totowa is kind of like how I got the ball rolling. They're right next door.
Okay.
To Nicola's in the same strip mall, and that is a beautiful bar, wine lounge, wine shop. They have a piano right there, and it is just a great ambiance, and the crowd is always like really into it. So I mean, I really love everywhere I perform, but those spots in Toto was kind of like that's my home turf.
Okay, well, listen, makes perfect sense, and we're going to have to check you out over there. I've never been to those places, believe it or not, as of yet, so that's definitely on the radar, you know, for sure.
Great.
Now, let me ask you this, so then, if I can ask you this. At the end of each performance, okay, what goes through, you know, what do you feel? Like, what kind of emotion do you, I mean,
a wide range of emotion. So there are gigs where I'm like wired after, and I can't go to sleep until like 1, 2 in the morning. And there are some times where I come home and I'm just beat to hell, and I'm ready to just conk out. So the emotional range varies big time depending on the kind of event, the feedback from the audience. So yeah, it definitely is a wide variety, but always at the end of the night, whether it was a real grinder or whether it was just heaven on earth, I'm always grateful. Always grateful. When I drive home, always gratitude
excellent,
for having been able to go out and say Sinatra. What's better than that? So,
Listen, there's no question about that. I don't think there's an answer to that. But now, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit more.
All right.
Okay. After all, this is Sessa's Corner, and everybody that comes on Sessa's Corner gets put on the spot, at least to some extent. Got to ask you this, okay? I'm gonna throw it at you. We're gonna give it a shot.
all right.
Let's just say you had the opportunity to meet Sinatra, okay? What do you think you would say to Sinatra, and what do you think he would say to you?
I don't know. It's really bizarre because I never thought about it because it's never been a possibility. That's a great question. I would pick his brain about singing, vocalizing. How do you do your phrasing where you could sustain such long phrases in a single breath? Because it's something that I work on and I try to do. I want to know how you do it. I want to know how it is that you're able to do it. How do you pick apart your songs? Like, how do you choose your set list for the night? How do you connect with your songs? What does Ava Gardner look like without any clothes on? You know, questions like that. So yeah, I would have a lot of choice questions for Sinatra behind closed doors, that's for sure. But really, it would just be about the vocalizing and how you're able to pull off such beautiful crooning with such depth and then such power at some points. Because that's what you miss from the singers nowadays. Like Michael Bublé is the tops that's doing this stuff right now.
Yeah, we love him.
Beautiful voice, beautiful, flowery, smooth voice, but just lacks that certain thing that Sinatra had. And,
Which, of course, is why Sinatra was Sinatra, and Michael Bublé, of course, is Michael Bublé. And
not taking anything away from Sinatra.
We're big fans as well.
A
So
strength and a depth.
that's totally unmatched, and will probably be forever unmatched. I think we can all agree on that. And then let me ask you this: so where do you see this going? You know, I mean, what would you say is next? What do you anticipate?
That's a great question because I got into this with no expectations. hoping, like I said, hoping that this could just be a job, or not a job, but hoping this could just be like a passion that can help supplement my golf addiction, you know? But now it's spiraled into something where like people are counting on me to show up at their restaurant or their private party and stuff like that. So it's becoming more and more of a bigger thing than I could have ever anticipated. So now my mindset is a little bit different. I'm in a point in my life where I've got a full-time job. I've got a 1.5-year-old daughter, got another one on the way. I'm starting to think about the long term. Like, if I can keep doing this, what are the things I need to do? And I'm hoping to find maybe like a manager that can do my bookings, do the logistics, the day-to-day stuff, so I can just focus on showing up, giving them the product, and doing my thing, you know? Because right now, to do a 3-hour gig from 7 to 10 at night, I'm showing up hours early. I'm leaving way ahead of time. I'm loading up my car, taking a shower, warming up, stuff like that. So it takes up it takes.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
absolutely. I could imagine.
and if I could do something, you know, something more steady in Manhattan or Atlantic City, that would be great. You know, a Vegas type of thing. I don't know. It would be tough to work that one out with the wife and.
Well, that's a
girls.
whole other story. But as far as the
Yeah.
Atlantic City or the Manhattan, I personally, having witnessed your performances, I would say that's only a matter of time
Appreciate it.
before you fall into one of those opportunities. Not a doubt in my mind.
Thank you.
Not a doubt in my mind.
But now, yeah, the sights are now set a little bit higher. Having no expectations to begin with, now working towards something.
Absolutely, as you should, as you absolutely should. And let me ask you this, you know, who is Dominick Carbone outside of singing Sinatra? I mean, of course, we already covered you're a husband, you're a father of one child, another one on the way, okay? And if I may say, you know, because you've confided in me and, you know, you're a cancer survivor. Okay, but kind of take us from there, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, outside of the Sinatra stuff, I am a sales rep. That is my day-to-day.
Yep.
Manufacturer's rep. So that's, you know, the job.
Yep.
Pay the bills, stuff like that. But yeah, outside of that, I love my family. I love my friends. I love to play golf. Another passion of mine.
I think you've made that pretty clear.
Did I mention that I like golf?
Yes. I've lost count how many times you've mentioned it already.
And love being a dad. I really do. My day-to-day job as an outside sales rep allows me some flexibility. So, you know, I bring my daughter to daycare every day.
Nice.
Pick her. My wife and I go and pick her up every day. She goes to my in-laws one day, but then on Fridays is Daddy Day. I have her all day. So, you know, that's
Nothing like it.
it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's a gift. But I'm really, really grateful to have all of these opportunities when there was a point in my life where it wasn't so straightforward where I was going to be. I, like I said, I am a cancer survivor. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with lymphoma, diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. It's a very aggressive form of cancer, and caught it extremely late. I was young and healthy, so things weren't so apparent to me. Little things here and there, I just kind of like, I just blew it off. But then I felt lumps coming up in my college home.
You were blindsided,
I
to
was
say the least.
blindsided, it really was. I went and got a CAT scan, and I was riddled with tumors. So life just stopped, and all the focus became survival, getting healthy, and surviving. And it wasn't a straight and narrow path, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Because my disease was so advanced that the normal course of action, chemotherapy, wasn't completely penetrated. So I did the standard chemotherapy to start, took care of a lot of the disease, still wasn't done. So then the hospital I was at initially recommended that I go to Hackensack. John Ferrer Cancer Center.
Yep.
And that's when all the gears shifted. They were hoping to get me on an experimental protocol, but it was really tough to get on it. So in the meantime, I was doing some very, very intensive chemotherapies, and really, really took a toll on me physically. I went down to the NIH, National Institutes of Health, down in Bethesda, Maryland,
Okay.
right across the street from Walter Reed,
Yep.
and did an experimental treatment there. Had a very tough reaction, almost took my life. Yeah, and I had no real solution, so I was open to anything at the time. Then after that, finally a spot opened up on an experimental protocol at Hackensack that was an immunotherapy, and it is a newer form of treatment where the drug trains your immune system to attack the cancer cells. And it's not a chemotherapy, and it saved my life. It saved my
Isn't
life,
that incredible?
and that's why I'm here. I started that in May of 2017 and did it for 2 years. No, May of 2015. Did that for 2 years until 2017 and never looked back.
That is tremendous. God bless you. That calls for another toast. Needless to say, I
I'll
mean,
drink to that.
yeah, we all will. Needless to say,
Quite a saga throughout all of those
to
years.
say the least.
I was
To
engaged.
say the least.
I was engaged at the time as well, and just through all the trials and tribulations, things just kind of fell apart. It was a really tough time in my life, as low as you can get. Just got out of that relationship, really, really tough. No end in sight where my health was going to go, and then all of a sudden, this immunotherapy happened. I got healthy, met my now wife, and now here I am singing. I got a beautiful daughter, another one on the way, beautiful wife, a home in West Essex, and I'm just like, it's pay dirt. This is pay dirt.
Absolutely, and needless to say, with what you went through, nobody deserves all of this happiness and success and continued good health more than you, Dominic. And that is a remarkable story with thankfully a very happy and remarkable outcome. And I mean, just incredible. I mean, and very moving and inspiring to hear. And I tell you, this has been such a joy and such a pleasure. And I know, you got a show to prepare for, so we're going to kind of, sum things up. And I'm going to put you a little bit through the Sessa's Corner style ringer, as I like to call it.
Let's do it.
We're gonna. You can't go through Sessa's Corner without being Sessified, as everyone can attest to. So, gonna ask you. We're gonna get to know you a little bit better. Gonna fire a few questions at you, and I can't wait to hear your responses. Favorite movie?
Okay, I have two. One's old, one's new.
Nothing wrong with that.
My favorite old movie is A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
My favorite new movie is Grand Budapest Hotel.
All right.
Wes Anderson.
Excellent.
Those are.
Now, circling back to Sinatra. Favorite Sinatra movie?
Oh boy, From Here to Eternity. It's got to be it. It's got to be it. And he was the original Dirty Harry, I believe. Am I right on that?
That I'm not sure about, but I do know that From Here to Eternity, that was obviously a pivotal time for him. He was on a little bit of a downward spiral, and that, of course,
knocked him right back.
That put him right back in, and we all know
Won the Oscar.
the supposed story, that's kind of depicted in The Godfather, and enough said there. But From Here to Eternity is definitely a classic. Of course, other late great stars in that movie, Montgomery Clift and of course Donna Reed. It's a classic, no question about it. Let me ask you this. You might have already answered this before, but we're just going to solidify it. So, favorite music aside from the Sinatra?
Rock music. And wherever that goes, that's it. I would say, harder rock / metal.
Okay, fair enough. Nothing wrong with that at all. Favorite actor?
That's a good one. That's a real good one. I really like Daniel Day-Lewis. modern actors, it would be Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay. One of the best in the business, no question about it. Favorite actress?
I really like Gal Gadot a lot.
Okay.
I like her a lot.
Nothing wrong with that.
She's great. Yeah.
Favorite food?
Buffalo wings.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There it is. Bang.
Talk about a comfort food.
Oof. Oh yeah.
I was going to ask you your favorite hobby, but I think we already know that because you made that pretty clear. You love to play golf in addition to the singing. So, so we already got that covered.
Covered that one. I carbonified it for you.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And again, we might be a little redundant, but we're gonna kind of bring everything to a close. What are you most thankful for?
My health and my family and my ever-growing family. You know? So, I mean, health is wealth. Without your health, you're going to have a tough time. And I'm fortunate to have gone through what I went through and to be on this side of it at a reasonably young age. So I now, it may sound like a cliche, but I am the most thankful for my health.
Absolutely. You have a tremendous new lease on life, a tremendous new perspective, to say the very least. And like the old expression goes, one of my all-time favorite expressions, adversity introduces one to himself or herself, and anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And Dominick, with what you went through, you are no doubt stronger than you've ever been. God bless you. And of course, you are a great talent, and we cannot wait for tonight's show. Folks, you're going to see more footage at the conclusion of this episode of Dominick performing the music of the late, great chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra. Dominick, thank you so very much for this opportunity. I wish you continued good health, continued success.
Pleasure was all.
Okay, all the blessings and happiness for you and your family, and congratulations once again on the new addition to your family. That's coming soon. And but I know you got a show to prepare for.
Yeah.
My wife and I have a dinner to prepare for, and a performance of yours to get ready to witness and enjoy. It's going to be a great night. Folks, once again, the legendary Dominick Carbone. This is the return of the new season of Sessa's Corner. We are just getting started. So much more to come. As always, folks, I urge you to please make sure you like and share on YouTube. If you have not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel under Anthony M. Sessa, where you'll be able to enjoy this episode of Sessa's Corner, all of the prior episodes from the first season, and all of the upcoming episodes that will be forthcoming. Click on the bell for the notifications, the whole 9 yards. We greatly appreciate everyone's ongoing support for Sessa's Corner. Dominick, thank you again. Break a leg tonight. We're gonna party, folks. Sinatra style.
Salute.
Salute.
I've been a puppet, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down, over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself laying flat on my face, I just pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. That's life. And I can't deny it. Many times I thought about now, but my heart ain't gonna buy it. But if there's nothing shaking, come this here July.